Assalamualaikum and salam sejahtera to all. So for today's topic, kita nak masuk topik 4 ataupun chapter 4 iaitu the judiciary, badan kehakiman. So in this topic, first of all kita akan go through lah what does it mean by judiciary. Kita nak tengok concept of judiciary. Next kita akan tengok the structure of the judiciary body in Malaysia. And next kita akan tengok what does it mean by the independence of judiciary. And last but not least, kita akan tengok concept of supremacy of law. So, judiciary is the third branch or arm of any government. So, kita dah go through legislature, executive, and last but not least, kita ada the judiciary lah, badan kehakiman. So, its existence ataupun kita kata the establishment of the judiciary functioning to separate the three major functions of government in order to uphold justice and also equality for all. So, it is done through the administration of justice. So, melalui mahkamah lah, courts. Moving on, kita nak tengok the powers of the judicial body in Malaysia. So, the judiciary of Malaysia is vested with the judicial power as outlined in the Article 121 subsection 1 in the Federal Constitution. So the Federal Constitution outlined the following powers to this body. First one, the power to interpret the laws, including the Constitution itself. Number two, the power to declare any law of federal or state void. And number 3, to declare the action of the federal government or state government illegal from the law perspectives. Okay, sekarang kita nak tengok the structure of judicial body in Malaysia. So, the judicial structure in Malaysia comprise of the following. So, kita bahagikan kepada 3 jenis mahkamah. A adalah satu superior courts. Number 2, kita tengok subordinate courts. And number 3, kita tengok other courts. So, in the superior courts, we have three types of court. The first one is the Federal Court, Mahkamah Persekutuan. Number 2, kita ada the Court of Appeal, Mahkamah Rayuan. And last but not least, kita ada the High Court of Malaya and also the High Court of Sabah and Sarawak. Mahkamah tertinggi di Semenanjung Malaysia dan juga mahkamah tertinggi di Sabah dan Sarawak. Itu bawah kategori Superior Court. Number 2, kita ada B, kita ada Subordinate Courts. The first one is the Session Court. Number 2, kita ada the Magistrate Court. And last but not least, kita ada the Penghulu Courts. And last subcategory for judicial structure in Malaysia is the other courts. So basically untuk other courts ni dia bawah kementerian. So dia ada, the first one ada the juvenile court, mahkamah juvana. Number 2, kita ada the industrial court. So basically the industrial court ni dia akan membincangkan kes-kes yang berkaitan dengan buruh lah, pekerjaan. And last but not least, kita ada the syariah court. Tengok kat sini Federal Court paling atas. And then di bawah Federal Court kita ada Appeal Court. So dekat sini you boleh tengok the floor lah. So basically for each High Court in Semenanjung Malaysia and also in Sabah and Sarawak, they have their own Session Court. And untuk the High Court in Malaya, we have Magistrate Court and also Juvenile Court, but we don't have the Penghulu Court for the High Court of Sabah and Sarawak. Moving on, kita nak tengok the responsibilities for each types of court. So, kita akan mulakan dengan Federal Court. So, in Federal Court, it consists of the Chief Justice of the Federal Court. And then they are the President of the Court of Appeal. And it has 2 Chief Justice of the High Court. And last but not least, there are the 7 additional judges. So basically, Federal Courts decides on the validity of laws that has been made in Parliament ataupun kita kata dengan state legislature. And then, dia decides on the dispute between the federal government and also state government. Other than that, it decides on the dispute between 2 states. Moving on, it deliberates on the appeal of civil cases and also criminal cases from the High Court. And last but not least, Federal Court also responsible in advise yang di-Pertuan Agong on the Federal Constitution ataupun kita kata Constitution lah, perlembagaan. Moving on, kita nak tengok High Court pula. So basically, High Court is headed by the Chief of the High Court itself. Generally, the High Court has its jurisdiction to hear cases which carry the death penalty. So basically High Court ni membincangkan kes-kes yang sangat berat lah. So the High Court has the jurisdiction to hear cases such as matrimonial cases, bankruptcy cases and company cases. And additional, High Court juga membincangkan tentang guardianship of disabled person. Moving on, kita nak tengok Session Court. So, Session Court is headed by a Session Court Judge. So, it is the highest of the lower courts. So, untuk lower court, untuk subordinate punya court, Session Court adalah mahkamah yang paling tinggi lah. So, it responsible to hear all criminal offences other than except those punishable with death. So basically apa-apa hukuman yang melibatkan death penalty tidak akan dibincangkan dalam Session Court. So basically hukuman yang kes-kes yang dijatuhkan hukuman death penalty akan dibincangkan dekat High Court. So, for the Session Court, it can impose jail sentences, fine and also whipping befitting the offences committed as permitted by the law. So, last but not least, Session Court also responsible to hear civil cases where the amount disputed does not exceed RM250,000 Malaysia. So, inilah Session Court. So, kita ada Magistrate Court. So, Magistrate Court ni is headed by the magistrate itself. So, it hears the light cases. Maximum imprisonment does not exceed 10 years or punishable by fine only. So it responsible to hear claim for repayment of debt in the monetary form, and it can impose caning for criminal cases. So, untuk Magistrate Court, dia pun ada civil, dia pun ada handle civil cases and also criminal cases. Moving on, kita nak tengok penghulu court. So basically penghulu court ni kita katakan dia dekat sub-district level, which is dia hanya available in Semenanjung Malaysia. So it is headed by the penghulu ataupun head of the mukim, ketua penghulu lah, in the penghulu hall. So basically ada di Semenanjung Malaysia. So it examine the light criminal cases where the fine does not exceed RM25. So next, dia akan examine the civil cases where the fine does not exceed RM50. Kalau criminal cases tidak melebihi RM25. Untuk civil case tidak melebihi daripada RM50. And in penghulu court, it appeals against the court's decision on criminal and also civil cases that can be made in the first class magistrate court. So, inilah kita kata dengan penghulu court. Next, kita ada juvenile court, which is under the types of others court. So, it is headed by the Session Court Judge. And it hears the offences that committed by a juvenile of less than 18 years of age. So, the offenders cannot be sentenced but are sent to the rehabilitation centre such as Henry Gurney School until the offenders turns to 21 years old. So, basically Mahkamah Juvenile ni membincangkan tentang kes-kes juvenil individu yang berusia bawah daripada 18 tahun. So, basically dia punya hukuman tu hanya dimasukkan ke sekolah-sekolah ataupun institusi rehabilitasi pemulihan akhlak lah, seperti Henry Gurney. Moving on, kita ada Syariah Court. So, it is headed by a religious head appointed by the ruler ataupun sultan. So, this court will examine the cases of offences against the Islamic law involving Muslims only. And this court also administer and handle the Islamic laws. Contohnya macam marriage, Muslim marriage, and then child custody among the Muslim people. And last but not least, kita ada Industrial Court ataupun kita kata Mahkamah Buruh. So, judges and settles employer, employee and trade union dispute. So, basically the jurisdiction for the Industrial Court is being outlined in the Industrial Relation Act 1967. Moving on, kita nak tengok subtopik yang seterusnya, iaitu independence of the judiciary. So, what does it mean by the independence of judiciary? The freedom of judges and or courts from the outside pressure and interference from the government. So kita nak ceritakan tentang kebebasan hakim-hakim ni daripada sebarang tekanan daripada luar, tekanan luar ataupun kita kata external factor lah, contohnya daripada kerajaan. Judges at all level have to be confident that they will not face consequences if they act according to the government decision. So, the judiciary is free from liability, which the government would take any hostile criticism and not the judiciary, as the act was initiated by the government and not the judiciary. So, they simply enforce the law that created by the parliament. And without independent judiciary, so a democracy society cannot be developed. That's why lah kita kata badan kehakiman di Malaysia merupakan satu-satunya badan yang independent, yang berdiri dengan sendiri kerana dia bebas daripada tekanan ataupun external factor lah. So, factors which ensure the independence of judiciary and enable judges to fearlessly discharge their duties are as the following. So, kita akan tengok 6 faktor yang kita boleh pastikan our judicial body ni are independent. So, the first one factor in terms of pelantikan hakim-hakim, appointment of the judges. So, this appointment is different from each countries. So, in practice, there are 3 methods are being used. So, the first one, method untuk melantik hakim ni first kali adalah by election by the legislature body. So it is not a common method as it is the violation to the standard of procedure. Number 2, election by the people can lower the character of judges. For example, in some of the cantons in Switzerland and in some of the states in the United States of America. And last but not least, appointment by the executive. So basically, these are the common method lah. So basically, untuk method 1 dan 2 tu tidak common dan juga tidak dipraktis dalam Malaysia. Tapi method yang ketiga ni, appointment by the executive, is the most common method and it is the method that has been used in Malaysia. So for example, in Article 122B in the Federal Constitution has outlined about the appointment of the judges of the Federal Court, Court of Appeal and also High Court. So this appointment of judges shall be made by Yang di-Pertuan Agong acting on the advice of the Prime Minister after consult with the Majlis Raja-Raja. Number 2, factor of to ensure the judiciary body in Malaysia is independent in terms of judicial tenure. So the length or tenure of judges services, kita kata orang kata apa tu, tempoh service hakim-hakim ini. So usually during the good behaviour with the compulsory retirement at definite age. Rupanya dia ada dah tentukan umur yang diwajibkan hakim-hakim ini untuk retired. So in Malaysia, judges hold their office until the age of 65, not being later than 6 months after he reached that age, as the Yang di-Pertuan Agong may approve. So this is according to Article 125 in the Federal Constitution. So rupanya tempoh hakim-hakim ni in service adalah sampai umur 65 tahun sahaja. Factor number 3, removal of judges. So, the removal of judges from office is made due to corrupt and efficient judges. So, rupanya faktor yang ketiga ni yang orang kata apa membuktikan bahawa badan kehakiman di Malaysia ni terus independent in terms of the removal of judges. So, hakim-hakim akan di-remove ataupun kita kata akan di-terminate sekiranya didapati bersalah terlibat dengan isu-isu corruption and also an efficient judges. So this in order to make the judges have a job security and they can work independently. So in Malaysia, once appointed by Yang di-Pertuan Agong, a judge cannot be removed from the office unless they involve in any action that has been outlined in the Article 125 in the Federal Constitution. So basically, action tu seperti macam corruptions, and then commit criminal offences, and when the judges inefficient when doing his or her work. Number 4, in terms of the salaries of judges. So, fixed and adequate salary earned by the judge in order to avoid corruption and also bribery. So, in Malaysia, according to Article 125 subsection 7, the judge's remuneration and other terms of appointment, including pension, cannot be altered. Tak boleh diubah. So, all the judges' remuneration can be found at the Judge Remuneration Act 1971. So, waktu pelantikan tu, bila dia terima pelantikan tu, segala figure, salary and also remuneration tu telah ditetapkan. So, salary remuneration cannot be altered untuk memastikan, to ensure this judicial body is independent. Number 5, faktor nombor 5, qualification of the judges itself. So in order to ensure the judicial body in Malaysia remain independent, kita akan tengok the factor in terms of the qualification of the judges, kelayakan hakim-hakim tu sendiri. So the qualified judges, hakim-hakim yang layak, can be secured from those who have spent their life in the legal profession. Oh, rupanya nak jadi hakim ni perlulah seseorang yang mempunyai latar belakang orang kata apa, yang berkait rapat dengan undang-undang profession, legal profession, to make sure that they prepare for difficult task of knowing and also interpreting law. Sebab salah satu fungsi Badan Kehakiman adalah untuk interpret the law, bukannya buat undang-undang, tapi untuk menterjemahkan undang-undang. Moving on, kita nak tengok faktor nombor 6, iaitu the non-interference of the executive. So, the judicial and executive should be separated from each other. So, the same person should not be a prosecutor as well as the judge in order to avoid the abuse of power, ataupun kita kata abuse of judicial authority and any unreliable administration of justice. So, according to Article 127 of the Federal Constitution, it explains about the conduct of judges that shall not be discussed in the Parliament. And last but not least, factor number 7, iaitu guarantee against packing ataupun guarantee against no external influence. So, the executive cannot anticipate or secure the overruling of the judiciary by filling the courts with the politically correct judges of its own persuasion. Maksudnya, badan eksekutif tidak boleh dinasihatkan untuk tidak melantik judges, hakim-hakim untuk memenuhi badan kehakiman di Malaysia ni dengan individu-individu yang boleh, orang kata apa, memberi interest kepada mereka, politically correct judges of its own persuasion. Sebab bila nak buat, orang kata apa, decision making, bila nak interpret law, nak establish ataupun nak amend law, takut dia ada bias. Moving on, kita nak masuklah subtopic of this chapter, iaitu the supremacy of law. So, the term of supremacy of law was introduced by Professor Dicey, and he is one of the most outstanding constitutional lawyer. So, it means that all persons are subject to law. No one is above the law. So, Dicey, in his introduction to the study of the law of the Constitution in 1885, has explained about the concept of the rule of law. So, what does it mean by rule of law? Number 1, the absolute supremacy of the law as opposed to arbitrary exercise of power. Maksudnya, law ni adalah paling tertinggi lah, absolute supremacy, kedaulatan yang paling mutlak. Number 2, that every man is subjected to the ordinary law of the country. So, in Malaysia, kita semua subjected to Federal Constitution. And last kali dia kata kat sini, the principle of the constitution pertaining to personal liberties were a result of judicial decisions in determining the rights of the private person in particular cases that has been brought before the court. So dalam federal constitution itself ada menceritakan tentang hak-hak asasi manusia. So, Dicey kata kat sini, he was referring to this third aspect was of course referring to the British Constitution, which is an unwritten constitution and not to a written constitution like the Malaysian Constitution. So, in Malaysia, dia ada beza British Constitution dengan Malaysia Constitution. So in Malaysia, where there is a written constitution, so kita ada federal constitution, the constitution itself provide it is the constitution and not parliament which is supreme. Rupanya federal constitution kita tu, perlembagaan persekutuan kita tu lah paling tertinggi, bukannya parlimen. So, according to Article 4, Subsection 1 in the Federal Constitution, explain that this constitution is the supreme law of the Federation, and any law that has been passed after the Merdeka Day, which is inconsistent with this constitution, shall to the extent of the inconsistency be void. So, apa-apa undang-undang yang diluluskan selepas hari kemerdekaan yang didapati tidak sejajar ataupun tidak seiring dengan perlembagaan persekutuan akan dianggap sebagai void lah. Bukan dianggap, tapi dibatalkan serta merta. Misal kata kalau undang-undang tersebut first kali dia diluluskan selepas hari kemerdekaan, dah betul dah, tetapi undang-undang tersebut tidak sejajar dengan perlembagaan persekutuan kita, maka undang-undang tersebut akan dibatalkan serta merta. Void tu maksudnya dibatalkan lah. So, kita nak tengok what are the indicators to the supremacy of the constitution in Malaysia. Kita nak tengok macam mana kedaulatan undang-undang dekat Malaysia ni boleh diukur. First kali, number 1, legislature may laws only as authorised by the constitution. Rupanya badan legislatif ni hanya boleh buat undang-undang yang telah yang telah diberi kuasa seperti dimaklumkan ataupun yang seperti ditulis dalam Federal Constitution. Number 2, legislature may make laws only in the way as prescribed by the Constitution. Number 3, legislature may make laws which are consistent with the Constitution, or otherwise it will be void. Number 4, a state legislature may only make laws that are consistent with the valid federal law. So tadi nombor 1, nombor 2, nombor 3 dekat level federal government. So number 4 ni dah termasuk dalam level state government. So each state government pun dia ada dia punya own legislature body. So a state legislature may only make laws that are consistent with the federal constitution. So again, sebab federal constitution is our supreme law. Number 5, judiciary body is not free from control by the legislative and also government. And last but not least, judges and also judicial department should decide based on the constitution and give reason for their decisions. So these are the indications towards the supremacy of the constitution in Malaysia. So kalau you nak tahu macam mana kedaulatan undang-undang di Malaysia boleh diukur, ia boleh ditengok indikator-indikator yang 6 ni lah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 dan 6. Next, kita nak tengok the supremacy of law versus the rule of law. So, apa perbezaan antara supremacy of law dengan rule of law ni? So, dia kata kat sini, rule of law means that the ordinary law should be everywhere supreme and every person is subject to the ordinary law courts. So, taken in its broadest sense, this means that the people should obey the law and be ruled by it. However, in political and legal theory, it has come to be read in a narrow sense, which the government shall be ruled by the law and subject to it. So, itulah beza supremacy of law and also the rule of law. So, the ideal of the rule of law in this sense is often expressed by the phrase government by law, not by men.